Michigan International is best known for its awesome speeds and competitive racing, spawned by its broad racing surface and 73-foot wide, 18-degree bank turns. Michigan's width and steep banking ensure there's always more than one racing groove. And the fact that MIS is not a super speedway means drivers have more than enough power to make a challenge out of the turns at both ends of the track. Once upon a time, Indy cars frolicked on those high banks at breathtaking speeds. Witness to Paul Tracy's record qualifying lap of 234.949 miles per hour. Today, Michigan regularly vies with Daytona and Talladega and Texas as NASCAR's fastest speedway, with Jeff Gordon holding the Cup Series track record at 206.558 miles per hour. Richard Petty, David Pearson, Bobby and Davey Allison, Dale Sr. and Jr., Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson have all added their names to the roll call of MIS winners, one that also includes names like Andretti, Foyt, Unser, Mears, and Zanardi from the days when Indy cars raced in the Irish Hills. Allison to Yarborough, Andretti to Zanardi, the world's greatest racing drivers have been coming to Michigan to test their mettle for more than 40 years. And the fans have followed by the hundreds of thousands. Tonight, it's the championship race of the PSRA Open ARCA Series, and it's next on Track Limits Network. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the virtual Michigan Speedway, the finale of the PSRA Open ARCA Series, race 17 of this second season. Let's take a look at the race details as qualifying just about to get underway. 87 laps the race distance, stage break coming at lap 25. Full fuel at 100% on board, unlimited sets of tires available over the wall. No fast repairs, count them, 0 zip zilch, and 3 attempts at a green-white checkered finish if necessary. Track temperature 83 degrees Fahrenheit, air temperature 73, humidity nice and dry at 36%, cloudy skies, 7-mile-per-hour breeze. And qualifying already underway here at the Speedway. Before we get too deep into the weeds here, let's take a look at the details as far as who is eligible for a title this evening. Bobby Hamilton Jr., Mark Truxell, A.J. Rogers, and Corey Bigley. Comes down to just these four this evening. A.J. Rogers across the line. Will Hewitt, fast time now, 37.645. Cole Ansley, a 6.69. Rogers, a 7.19. Get a 5-minute session or 2 laps, whatever comes first. Rogers across start finish goes 5th quick, 37.710. Mike Fahey in the number 19 Menards machine. $37.510 for Mike Fahey. Puts him second quick for the time being. Now to Mark Truxell. 37.770 for the 5. Third quick. Mark actually opted to qualify this week. Something we don't typically see. Again, a lot on the line tonight, so trying to get the best track position possible. Bobby Hamilton Jr. out on his qualifying attempt. Bobby Jr. goes third quick, 37.56. Getting a little wonky. We are on a tape-delayed broadcast here. We did not watch the race ahead of time, so we are unsure of the outcome. But occasionally we do see some glitches with our overlay system when we run it off a replay. So it's not going to show the lap of record immediately, at least in qualifying. At least that's what we're seeing. Bobby Jr. with a 5.58. Improves to a 37.49, second quick for the 25. Now Keenan Kimber on the Speedway with just about 30 seconds left in the session. And looks like Keenan's going to abort here. He'll come to pit lane. So that may do it here for our qualifying session. With that, we'll step away briefly. We'll be back with our starting grid after this. Stay with us. Back at Michigan Speedway, it's time to take a look at our starting grid. On the pole position with a lap time of 37.438 seconds. From Hewitt Motorsports, it's the 33 of Will Hewitt. Outside pole, missed it by 52 thousandths of a second, Bobby Hamilton Jr. Row number 2, it's the 19 of Mike Fahey and Corey Bigley. Row number 3, it's Mark Truxell and Frank Griffith. Starting in the 4th row, Colt Ansley and Chris Klein. Row 5 is Joshua Ingram and AJ Rogers. Starting 11th, the 10 of Matt Nicholson. 12th belongs to Alan DeFries. 13th starter, newcomer Terry Wilson will see more of the 3 machine here next season. David Bradford will start to his right elbow. 15th starter, the 99 of Derek Runge. 16th belongs to Jason Steptoe. Last but not least, the 65 of Keenan Kimber will start in the 17th position. Your starting grid here from Michigan Speedway. We're going to get rolling here momentarily, so stay with us. Don't go far. 87 laps of racing coming at you here just in a couple of minutes. Race details again here, 87 laps the distance, 25 laps to the stage break. Unlimited fuel on board. Unlimited tires. 100% fuel on board. Unlimited tire sets. No fast repairs. 3 attempts of green, white, checkered finish if the need arises. The green flag racing the next time by. Another thing I want to make note of here, you look at the timing tower here, there are drivers marked with a yellow number and there is drivers marked with white numbers. The white numbers are the drivers that are in contention for a title here tonight. That's Bobby Hamilton Jr., Corey Bigley, Mark Truxell, and A.J. Rogers. Rogers, of course, starting the deepest in the field of our Championship 4. Pace car comes to pit lane, ready to get this one underway. Barney the flagman with the green in hand. They enter the start zone, and there we go. We're underway. We're racing in the Irish Hills. Field spills out onto the back straightaway, a side-by-side battle for the race lead. It's Bobby Hamilton Jr. and the 33 of Will Hewitt. Further back through the field, A.J. Rogers has slipped back, and the 10 is in trouble. So is the 3 of Rogers. Oh, big-time impact to the abutment. The barrels get annihilated here. The entrance to pit lane, and just at the end of lap 1, we are under caution for the first time. Big one here at Michigan, and Matt Nicholson going to be out of this one, I think, for good with no fast repair. A significant impact to the end of the pit lane. We're going to go back and watch this here. This will kind of be a little wonky because we got to try and get it back live without hitting the live button, but watch the 3 here. He comes around after the fact. Nicholson's going to come around ahead of time. He was not helped. Tries to correct, a little overcorrect, but then brings it back. But unfortunately, it just kind of centers him right up to those sand-filled barriers at the end of the pit lane to protect, I guess, that sharp edge of pit road. But both drivers having separate incidences in the same part of the racetrack at the same time puts us under the yellow flag for the first time tonight. Pace car picks up the field down the back straightaway. So will we see any takers here to pit lane, at least for fuel? Again, a full load of fuel on board. Some drivers dropping it down to the apron. Mark Truxell, one of them. At the very least, the shorter distance you ride around this place, the less fuel you're going to have to burn. And from the top up by the wall all the way down below the yellow line on the apron, it's a pretty significant difference. Lap after lap under yellow, it does make a difference. Alan DeFries and others will come to pit lane. David Bradford going to follow along as well. Terry Wilson the same. Derek Runge also going to come down and pit. And even after just one lap under green, Alan DeFries is going to bolt on some fresh tires. Does Bradford do the same? He is. Unlimited tire sets. Again, if you're deep in the field, why not? You're not going to lose a whole lot of track position. The worst you're going to restart, probably going to be 16th or 15th, depending if Wilson makes it back out onto the track. Again, those of you just joining us, in the timing tower here to your left, the driver's numbers, noted in white, are your championship contenders. The yellow drivers are all out of it as far as the title is concerned, but still with a chance to win this race. So as we get ready for the restart, front row is going to be more of the same. Will Hewitt out in front. Bobby Jr. will restart to his outside. Mike Fahey and Corey Bigley will restart in row number 2. Then Frank Griffith, Mark Truxell, Cole Ansley, Chris Klein, A.J. Rogers, Josh Ingram, the top 10. Field rolling through turn number 4. The pace car will head back to pit lane. Wait for Barney to wave the green yet again. First restart of the night. Hewitt gets the jump down to turns 1 and 2, but a big run from Bobby Hamilton Jr. Had to slow up a bit, but still has some momentum. Will get to the inside of Hewitt, down the back straightaway. Bobby Hamilton Jr. to the race lead. Mike Fahey going to jump in and take the second spot from Hewitt as well, but Hewitt may have the run off of turn number 4. Scrapes the wall just a touch on exit. Coming back to the line, though, Bobby Jr. leads him at the stripe. Hewitt maintains second, but for how long? Also closing in, Mark Truxell off the nose of Chris Klein as he rolled down through turns 1 and 2. Big run to the outside from Will Hewitt. He may be able to take this spot back from Fahey on the outside. Is he clear? No, not quite yet. Second spot, Hewitt to the outside, Fahey down low. Big run for the 33, might give a kiss to the back bumper. There it is, a bit of a push now down into turn number 1. Hewitt checks up a bit, opens the door for Fahey. Mark Truxell jumps to the inside of Mike Fahey. We're going to go 3 now, almost 4 wide, 4 position. The second spot here at lap number 8. Truxell up the racetrack, checks up a bit to stay off the door of Mike Fahey. Another car stepping on the line, it's Cole Ansley. Side by side, door handle to door handle. Mike Fahey making some contact with the 54 of Frank Griffith. He loses some ground now as Bigley jumps up to the 3rd position. Terry Wilson slow on the bottom of the racetrack, won't be a factor. Now Klein pushing the 5 back towards the front again. Truxell hanging out of the 6th position. He's down 1 from the start of this race. A solid qualifying effort for the 5, putting it into the top 5 to start the night off. 10 laps in, he's still hanging tough there in the 6th position. He's got a championship on the line here tonight. We'll see if he can hang on to this car, take care of it, keep the fenders on it, keep everything straight all the way to the checkered flag. If he does that, he's got a hell of a shot. He's got to make short work, though, of a couple other drivers, and they're certainly no slouches. Corey Bigley in the number 58. Of course, Bobby Hamilton Jr., which leads this race. And he's got A.J. Rogers in the 57 to the outside, top part of the racetrack, the blue and white Mustang. Meanwhile, Truxell is losing some ground here. The draft comes into play pretty considerably here at Michigan, though it's not considered what we've been calling the, quote, drafting tracks. The draft does play a part, except they've got some horsepower to work with on top of it. Truxell now to the 8th position. We'll go back up into the top 5. A.J. Rogers now running in 6th behind Mike Fahey and Frank Griffith. Griffith in the 54 U.S. Army colors. 11 laps in. Bobby Hamilton Jr. still with the race lead. Across start finish. Put lap 12 up on the board. Top 3 single file. 1, 2, 3 like ducks in a row as they roll down into turn 1. Bigley steps to the low side of the racetrack. Hewitt comes in a little bit later to turn down into the corner, but crosses back over the nose of the 58. Now to the back straightaway. They spill out. Griffith changing lanes in front of A.J. Rogers. Now Mark Truxell back up into the 7th spot, looking to pick up a 2-for-1 special here as Fahey and Rogers to the top of the racetrack, and he gets it done. Mark Truxell into the top 5 yet again. Behind him, crazy action, 3 wide with Cole Ansley on the bottom. Fahey was in the middle, but now Steptoe's going to fill the void. Steptoe slips up the racetrack, almost gets into the 19. Meanwhile, Keenan Kimber losing connection behind him. Oh, 1 car in the wall. Might have been Keenan Kimber, no. Josh Ingram in the 56. Ingram continues on, albeit now back in the 11th position, down 2 from the start. We may have a battle for the lead shaping up here as Hewitt closing into the back bumper of Bobby Jr. Hamilton continues to lead. He's been pretty dominant since he's been out into the race lead. Hasn't given it back to the pole sitter, Will Hewitt, but Hewitt still riding tough there in the 2nd position. Now trying to defend that position from Corey Bigley. Bigley gets alongside, down into turn number 3. Side by side now off turn 4. A little wiggle for both drivers. Bigley will try to tuck in to close the gap, but Truxell working to the outside. Again, he's got his old buddy Chris Klein pushing him up through the field. Cars are out of shape here on corner exit. Klein had to lift a bit there, had the rear end step out on him, and he's going to close the gap still on Corey Bigley, but Bigley doesn't have the momentum and driving it deep now into turn 3. Mark Truxell knocking on the 33's door for the 2nd spot. Truxell has to tuck back in behind. Not enough to get the move completed. Now here comes Corey Bigley with a run. Sucking on the draft of the 5. The hunt down now turn number 1. Bigley drops it way to the low side of the track. Shortcuts it, if you will. Gets the 3rd spot and looking for more. Might have 2nd, but no. A run to the outside from Will Hewitt will prevent that. Bigley tried to slot in behind Hewitt. Didn't realize Truxell was right there until the very last second. Almost had calamity there on the back straightaway, but they got away with it. Now Truxell trying to charge up for the 2nd position yet again. Half a car's width length ahead of the 33, but Hewitt battling back on the outside again. Behind them, Chris Klein now pushing Corey Bigley to the front. Oh, Bigley real loose in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Truxell cleanly into the second spot now, putting pressure on Bobby Jr. Makes a move, looks to the inside, middle of 1 and 2. Up to the door, the 25 as they exit turn number 2. Now it's a race down the back straightaway. Truxell is there, has the momentum. Now into turn number 3. Inches his nose to the race lead, but will it be enough? He's got to keep the car pinned down there. Bobby gets loose on exit, slides up the racetrack, just barely scrapes the wall, and we got a new leader coming to the line. It's going to be Mark Truxell. Truxell leads the lap, but it opened the door for Corey Bigley to take advantage now with a run to the inside of the racetrack. Now Corey Bigley takes over the top spot. So far, 3 out of 4 of our championship drivers now have taken the lead at one point or the next. Bobby Jr., of course, had plenty of time at the front of the field. Truxell led a lap officially. Corey Bigley, though, has got to make it back around and cross the stripe to make this one count. It looks good for now. Couple of car lengths the advantage now to Bobby Hamilton Jr. as Bobby retakes the second spot, still chasing the race car up the racetrack. And at the line, Corey Bigley will get his first lap led of the night. Following up on A.J. Rogers, started the deepest in the field compared to the rest of our championship drivers, but he's worked himself up 5 spots from 10th to crack into that top 5 for the first time today. Now Bobby Hamilton Jr. making quick work of Mark Truxell as Truxell is kind of hung out on the bottom side of the racetrack with no drafting help. Still turns it down to the low side. Now challenge for the lead. Bobby has to lift to keep off the door of the 58. 3 wide for the lead, and Truxell's going to take it back. Mark Truxell showing what he's made of here at Michigan Speedway. This is a guy who drives conservatively each and every week. Sometimes opts not to even qualify the car. Wants to get into a rhythm from the tail of the field and pick guys off slowly but surely, and he's almost always around at the end. Evidenced by the fact he made this championship 4 without picking up a win this season. Closest he got was a second place, but he is challenging and challenging hard here at Michigan Speedway, showing that he belongs in this championship 4. Bigley and Hamilton Jr. take it back away. They run 1 and 2. Truxell now 3rd. Hewitt still working the higher lane there in 4th, and A.J. Rogers in the 5th spot. Ansley loose off of turn number 2 behind Chris Klein, but he'll still get to the inside. One driver officially out of the race. It's Matt Nicholson. Was not able to complete the first lap of this race before the car came around, and he ended up parking it nose first into the barrels that protect the pit wall. A massive impact for the 10 will end his season very early. Back out front again, Bobby Hamilton Jr. out in front. Corey Bigley on the back bumper. Mark Truxell there in 3rd alongside Will Hewitt. Hewitt now decides to go to the bottom of the racetrack in front of the 5. Takes a lot of air off the nose of Truxell. He slides up the track. Might have got some contact with the 57 of Rogers in the middle of turns 1 and 2. They get away cleanly, but it allows everyone behind him to stack up to the rear bumper. Rogers up into the 4th position in another battle for the lead again. Bigley and Bobby going at it here at the front of the field off of turn 4. This will complete the stage, lap 25 up on the board. Caution on the speedway. Stage break. Stage completed. Bobby Jr. wins it. And it's Will Hewitt, Corey Bigley, A.J. Rogers, David Bradford, the top 5. Colt Ansley, Mark Truxell, Frank Griffith, Chris Klein, and Derek Runge appear to be the top 10. Well, if the rest of this race is anything like that, I'm going to be tired after this one. Very entertaining stage one here at Michigan Speedway. Final race of the season here at the PSRA Open ARCA Series. Those of you just joining us, you see the 0th caution in the timing tower. Pay no mind to that. We are doing this broadcast on a tape-delayed replay. We're treating it as though it's live because I didn't read ahead. But that 0th caution is why we're having those problems, is because we're in a replay session. Things don't really math that well for some reason. But you get the picture. Our second caution of the night. We had one at the very first lap between Matt Nicholson and Terry Wilson, though they were not related as far as the incidents were concerned. They still brought out the yellow together. Nicholson getting the shortest end of that stick as he's out of this race after completing 7/8 of a lap. Expecting just about everybody to come on down pit lane here, take Sunoco Racing fuel and a fresh set of tires. Taking a look at the laps here. Fastest lap of the race for Bobby Jr. was the 37.72. His slow lap just before the stage end, a 38.625. So almost a full second of fall off on the older tires. So tires do matter here in the series, even at these big speedways. The field comes to pit lane, and as we expected, everybody coming to the attention of their crews. Fresh fuel going in, new tires on all four corners. David Bradford down and away early. He may have opted for two, or did he? Bradford has the momentum. He's going to gain some ground here. He may come out of pit lane in the third spot. Bradford with a very quick pit stop. 14.15 seconds for the 13. Picks up a handful of spots. Excellent work by the Crown Apple crew. Free shots in the 13 pit post-race. Pace car lights are out. Next time by, we'll be racing again. It'll be lap 30 when we take the green. I know we're broadcasting on a abnormal night. Again, a tape-delayed broadcast of Sunday night's race here in the PSRA Open ARCA Series. But if you're out there watching, feel free to jump in the stream chat. We got Moto Dad early on. I think we weren't even live yet. Says, this running? Yeah, we're running. Chime in, say hello, chat us up. Just keep it PG for the kids, will ya? Pace car comes to pit lane. Bobby Hamilton Jr. gets the good restart as they roll down into turn number 1. David Bradford has picked up the second position. We'll see if Will Hewitt can battle back around the outside or if David closes the door. He does. He slams it shut. Bradford now to the second spot. Hewitt third. Bigley fourth. Colt Ansley now up into the fifth position. Just past a third distance here at Michigan Speedway. Bobby Hamilton has been the dominant car here tonight. Didn't get the pole position, missed it by about 52 thousandths of a second, but he's been lights out fast ever since. So one thing we've noticed with the 25 throughout the course of this season, again, it is an open setup series. So adjustments are allowed as Will Hewitt drives to the bottom of the racetrack for second. Might get 2 for 1, and wow, what a move by the 33. He goes from third to the lead in one corner. Back to the race lead, Will Hewitt. Now the outside's moving again with drafting help. Bobby Jr. working to the outside. As we were saying about this being an open setup series, it seems that every time Bobby Jr. gets out in front, everybody seems to keep pace with him in that first stage, but as soon as he gets an opportunity to make some adjustments on that first pit stop, he gets even faster. Don't know if we're going to see that here at Michigan here tonight just because the draft is so important, but we saw how loose that race car got, especially in the exit of turn number 4 in the latter stages of the run. We'll have to keep a close eye on that later on. See if he made some changes, whether it be air pressure or otherwise. Help tighten that race car up. Lots of action here at the front of the field now. Derek Runge from the 15th position up into third in front of Corey Bigley. Doesn't slot up in front of the 58, though. Keeps that lane available to him, and that's going to cost the 99. As Bigley gets back around, now so does Will Hewitt. Now Runge alongside Colt Ansley. Colt way up the racetrack, pulling the long way around. In fact, scraping the safer barrier out of turn 4. He's going to get checked up here. Everyone's going to scatter to try to avoid running him over. Keenan Kimber did a great job to avoid getting into the back of the 86 as Colt rolled the wall off turn number 4. It slowed the car's momentum considerably. The 65 had to take evasive action to keep from running him over. Good job by Kimber. Truxton now back on the attack. Low side of the racetrack in the number 5 Little Tate's Cupcakes Ford Mustang. Battling in front of Derek Runge alongside Bigley and Hewitt. It's a hornet's nest here at the front of the field. Now David Bradford will jump out to the top spot. At the line, too close to call. I don't know who led the lap. Somebody did, but I can't tell you. Bradford still on the low side of the track with Mark Truxell in behind. Mark is really keeping that car pinned to the low side of the racetrack. It's the short way around, folks. I can't say that I blame him because it's working for now. Back at the bottom again goes the 5, while Bradford in the middle goes to the race lead. Bobby Jr. up the racetrack. Both lanes with some drafting help now, but Runge stuck in the middle without any help. He's going to free fall like a rock in the middle of a lake. Bradford and Bobby side by side still for the race lead. Derek Runge now to the back bumper of Mark Truxell as they roll down the back straightaway. Might have been a bit of a push there from the 99. Truxell really shortening up that shallow entry to get down into turn 3. It's making it work for now. We may be 3 wide here as we come back to the stripe. Coming to the line, it'll be Bobby Jr. with the lead. Bradford with second. Truxell had third, but that line just died. The momentum goes back to the top side. On board with Bobby Hamilton Jr. from the race lead. tow. Will Hewitt with a run to the bottom again. Can he get in front of Bobby off of 2? Not enough space. Big bump from David Bradford. Hewitt may have a shot now down into turn number 3. And Will Hewitt back to the lead. Threads the needle, gets there alongside of Will Hewitt into turn number 3. Will he have the lead back off of 4? I don't know. I think Hewitt's going to have the run to defend that spot. Bobby's fast, though, even on the middle portion of the racetrack, coming to the stripe. Hewitt's going to lead the lap. Seen those photo finish calls here lap after lap. Can only cross our fingers and hope that's how this finish ends up. Bobby Hamilton takes the top spot back away from Will Hewitt. Bigley still 3rd, Bradford 4th, Runge in 5th. I gotta say it here, Bobby Hamilton Jr. has been really fast here tonight, but I gotta say, he is beatable, folks. It can be done if the right guys get working together here, kind of team up on the 25. You only gotta lead that one lap, that final lap of the race. You can make it work, use the draft, kind of hang the 25 out. They've got an opportunity to do just that. Hewitt going to try and push the 25 down into the corner. Into the corner, maybe a little hotter than he anticipated. But Bobby doing a good job making it stick top of the racetrack. Little bit of a wiggle there off of turn number 2. Now a battle side by side with Bigley and Runge, but it doesn't last very long as the outside line has the numbers. Bradford goes down to the low side of the racetrack looking for 3rd, might have more. Turn number 2, we've got cars going around. Chris Klein, did they straighten it up? It looks like they did. Unbelievable. The 51 was dead sideways off of turn number 2. There's definitely some damage on that machine, but I think he kept it off the wall. Back out front, the top 3. You can throw a blanket over them right now as they run through turns 1 and 2. Just like that, it switches up again, side by side. Bradford and Hewitt. Hewitt was close enough there. The 13 didn't want to come all the way up. Certainly tried, but didn't get there in time. Now Mark Truxell back in the mix. He slides up, might have made some contact with Bradford. Really throwing it down to the bottom side of the racetrack. Tried to get more than he could get. Has to lose some spots now. He'll slide back to 6th, maybe worse. Truxell now in the 6th position. Now a battle for the lead again. Will Hewitt to the inside of Bobby Hamilton Jr. What a show these guys are putting on here at Michigan Speedway. We are just past halfway. We're going to step aside, get our one and only side-by-side break out of the way. Stay with us. We'll be back after this. Spartan Transportation and Spartan Logistic Management is your one source for all your shipping needs. 53-foot dry van shipments, auto transport shipments, full-service in-house brokerage, drop-lot facilities, just-in-time deliveries to all auto manufacturers, facilities in St. Louis, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Spartan Logistics, LLC, proud sponsor of the IROC Series, Kyle Steffens UMP Modified and Silver Crown Driver, and Gordy Gundaker, World of Outlaws late model. Visit us at spartan-logistics.net or find us on Facebook.
Need insurance coverage that's built for speed? Frank Yea's office in South Charleston has your back. Whether you're blazing down the highway, protecting the home you've built, or setting up a legacy for your family, we've got the coverage you need. Auto, home, life, fast, simple, and made for you. Scan the QR code on your screen now to explore all our services and start a free quote today. Lock it in, save it for later, or call us at 304-744-7700 to get started.
Back at Michigan Speedway, 51 laps on the board. Lots has changed since we went to our commercial break. Will Hewitt still out in front. Bigley runs second. Bobby Jr. back to third. We saw him as low as the fifth position. It's really the furthest down the running order we've seen the 25 all night long. And maybe some contact there with Hamilton Jr. and Corey Bigley. Got the 58 a little crossed up on the exit of turn number 4. Both drivers keep it going. They're side by side here at start-finish line. Bobby Jr. may have this second spot, or will he? As they run, our 4 championship contenders running second, third, fourth, and fifth. Don't tell me they don't belong here. It's obvious they do. As Will Hewitt continues to lead, those 4 are going to battle it out for a championship. Bigley and Hamilton side by side. Truxell and A.J. Rogers side by side. That's your second through fourth positions as they run. Bobby slots in behind Bigley with just inches to spare. A.J. Rogers in the tire tracks, but Truxell back down low side of the racetrack again. He's been trying to make that work all night long, and for the most part, it's been pretty effective. Meanwhile, the biggest lead of the night we have seen, 0.7 of a second. Will Hewitt over the rest of the field here. And for unknown reasons, Alan DeFries out of this race. Currently listed in the 14th position. Terry Wilson might still be on the racetrack here. In fact, he is. He'll have some positions to gain. If he stays out, he'll pick up at least one more spot. Hewitt leads still and increasing that gap back to Corey Bigley. Truxell still riding the low side of the track as Bradford gets in the wall and gets a little out of shape in front of the 99 of Runge. Hamilton Jr. is still shown in the third position, but he's got a mirror full of David Bradford, and he gets crossed up, and Bobby trying to save it, slips up the racetrack in front of Mike Fahey. Bobby Hamilton Jr., he keeps it off the wall, but he spins down the exit of turn number 2, and we stay green, I believe. Bobby Jr. in trouble. And the caution has come out, so we are under our third yellow of the evening here at lap 55 for an incident involving Bobby Hamilton Jr. I don't know if Bobby just wasn't quite clear of David Bradford or if David tried to push the 25 into the corner or at least in the middle of the corner. Either way, Bobby Hamilton Jr. got all crossed up, was trying to save it through the entirety of turn number 2. Comes around, manages to keep it off the wall, and I don't think he's sustained any major damage. Let's try to get a real close look here from the blimp. Left side of the nose looked pretty good. I don't really see any damage anywhere else. He might be okay here. Yep, 25 machine still looking pretty. The H&H Unlimited Ford Mustang ready to go out there and fight it out again, but he's going to have some more work to do as he's shown in the 9th position now. I believe David Bradford is going to drop to the tail. I think he is just taking ownership of the cause for that. I don't know if that's necessarily a rule in this series, but it's good to see those guys falling on the sword when they have to. So Bradford will restart at the tail end of the field here as everyone else is going to roll through. Will they take an opportunity to come to pit lane? I imagine they would. And yes, that is going to be the case. Everyone's going to pit here. And once again, I think everyone's going to go with 4 tires and fuel in this cycle of pit stops. Our third caution of the night. Again, pay no attention to the 0 up in the timing tower. A.J. Rogers is down and away. Derek Runge the same. Will Hewitt's going to beat everybody off of pit lane. 15:04 the stop. Not the greatest, but that number 1 pit stall really does make a difference. Truxell will be out second. 15:03 the stop. And A.J. Rogers, very quick stop. 14:45. Not as quick as the Crown Apple crew from the last round of pit stops with David Bradford, but still very fast. Corey Bigley, though, comes out 5th with a 13.78 second 4-tire stop. That whole crew is pounding the Red Bull today. So 57 laps in. We're going to cross the stripe here. It'll be 30 laps to go. Will Hewitt from the pole is still out in front. Will Hewitt without a win this season, trying to close the season off with a checkered flag. Fuel-wise, think everybody should be good to go to the finish at this point. Tires, though, could be another question. If we catch another yellow before this one's out, we're going to see some tire strategy, whether it's going to be no tires, stay on the racetrack, 4 tires, ultimate grip, 2 tires, a little bit of both, a little bit of grip, some very valuable track position. Maybe we don't have to worry about it. Maybe we run this thing green all the way to the finish. We're going to find out. Pace car about to come to pit lane. Front row is going to be Will Hewitt, Mark Truxell. Row 2 will be A.J. Rogers and Derek Runge. Then Corey Bigley and Mike Fahey in the 3rd row. Bobby Jr. will restart 9th. Hewitt takes full advantage of being the lead car on the restart, gets out to a 2.5-tenth advantage over A.J. Rogers and Mark Truxell as they roll out of turn number 2. Side-by-side battle, Derek Runge pushing the 5 with everything he's got. Truxell doesn't like it, or maybe thought he'd make a move for the race lead. Gets alongside Will Hewitt in the middle of 3 and 4. Jason Steptoe up in the wall. Jason Steptoe going to come to pit lane. Truxell trying to get the lead back from Will Hewitt. Pushes the 33 up the racetrack off turn 2. Now alongside, trying to side draft, but Runge is going to push the 33 back out into the race lead. Truxell's going to lose some ground, but he's back on the throttle into turn number 3. Still now alongside Derek Runge. Hewitt is able to get away, puts 3/10 on the rest of the field. Another update on our championship contenders. Mark Truxell, the highest running championship driver right now, in the 3rd spot as he tucks in behind Runge, almost gets into Mike Fahey. A.J. Rogers runs 5th, Bigley 6th, and Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 8th spot. Truxell sliding up the racetrack on exit, gets into the 19, but Rogers pancakes the outside wall. Costs him some serious momentum. It'll open the door for Colt Ansley to the bottom of the racetrack. Bigley now working the outside. We're 3 wide. Will Hewitt now trying to break the draft as we're still 3 wide with Rogers in the middle, Bigley up top, and Ansley on the bottom. 25 laps to go for Michigan. A.J. Rogers got his hands full in that number 57 Apex Ford Mustang. Rogers settles out in the 6th position. Champ contenders 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th. Bit of a push from Colt Ansley. I just got to give an attaboy to Mark Truxell here. He's had his share of struggles throughout the season, managed to make the championship 4, and it is glaringly obvious that he belongs here. Highest running driver at the time being, running in the 3rd spot now, going for 2nd, trying to take it from Derek Runge. Tries to slide job, but not enough room. Back on the throttle off of 4. Does he have enough to carry that momentum through the start-finish line? Doesn't appear to be the case. He'll drop it back down to the bottom of the racetrack again. Will he dive low again into 1? Loses the spot to Runge. Now he's fighting with the 58 of Corey Bigley. Oh, some contact with the 58. More contact with Bigley. Mark Truxell got his elbows out. Just 20 laps to go, 40 miles here at Michigan Speedway. Will Hewitt now back to a significant advantage, over 7/10 back to Derek Runge. Now Bobby Hamilton Jr. alongside A.J. Rogers. Colt Ansley now next on the list. Bobby up to the 7th position, trying to get back towards the front of the field. That car was really good in clean air. Doesn't quite seem to have the pace that he did earlier now that he's in traffic. David Bradford now in the 8th spot alongside Rogers. Bigley and Truxell side by side, at least they were before they got to turn 3. Bigley now occupying the championship position, now P3. Truxell there just a half car length off the back bumper, up the racetrack. Rogers gets the wall off of 4. Ansley's going to cross over now to the bottom of the racetrack alongside Bobby Jr. They'll go 3 wide for a moment. Hewitt still enjoying a 7/10 of a second advantage over the rest of the field. He is on rails here tonight. Really haven't seen Hewitt slip a wheel anywhere. Driving that car with the right rear hung out just how you want it to be. Coming to 16 laps to go as Runge runs 2nd. Corey Bigley and Mark Truxell still side by side. Rogers and Hamilton Jr. side by side. 15 laps remain. Nobody is saving anything anymore. 15 to go. You got to get going. Bobby Jr., a bit of a wiggle there again. Maybe some handling issues present on the H&H Unlimited Ford Mustang for Bobby Hamilton Jr. Runs in the fifth spot, though. He's still picking up position slowly but surely, but does he have enough time to get back towards the front and put on a run here on the 33 of Hewitt? I just don't think it's there. As long as Hewitt doesn't beat himself here, he may have this one. David Bradford pushing the 57 of Rogers down into the corner. Truxell with a run to the inside of Derek Runge. Nobody goes with him. In the corner, that's okay, but you're going to need some help to draft. Oh, real loose. Runge trying to save it. Runge goes around in front of Bobby Hamilton Jr., collects the 25, or we're under the caution for the fourth time tonight. Derek Runge losing it on his own. Can't tell these drivers aren't pushing 10 tenths. So our fourth caution of the night, and it involves the 99 of Derek Runge. We'll watch it again here. Now from the blimp, he just starts to come around, overcorrects a little, tank slaps, corrects again, but around it goes. Bobby Jr. is going to get the left rear of the 99 up the racetrack. Some nose damage on the 25. Not a real significant impact, but it's going to make a difference, especially for Bobby Hamilton Jr. Definitely some nose damage on Bobby's machine. But that relatively comfortable lead that Will Hewitt had goes away. So tuck in behind the iRacing pace car. We'll again likely see the field roll down pit lane for what would be their final stop of the afternoon. Fuel no longer an issue unless you want to add some for the weight balance to the back of the race car, but tires for sure. The question will be, does anybody stay out? Does anybody opt for just right sides? We're going to find out here in a minute. Now watch David Bradford here. He comes in his pit stall. He was in the top 5 at the time of the caution. We'll see if he can click off another lightning fast pit stop. Does he have anything for these guys? Frank Griffith having to back up into the pit box, went a little too deep. Looks like 4 tires for everybody up and down pit road. David Bradford the first to roll out. And he'll come out in the second spot. Another quick pit stop for David Bradford. 14.29 seconds. David Bradford hiring some pit crew ringers. He gains 3 positions on the pit stop alone, and he did take 4 tires. So we currently have 12 laps to go. Should get the restart here with 10 laps remaining. Will this go 10 laps under green to the end? So there it is. Pace car lights are out. So next time by, we'll be racing yet again. Potentially all the way to the end of this race. They can get it done without any more yellows. 10-lap shootout. Front row is going to be Will Hewitt and David Bradford. Row 2, A.J. Rogers and Bobby Hamilton Jr., two drivers competing for a championship here tonight. Again, note the nose damage on the 25. Might be fine in the draft, but it's not going to do well in clean air. That's kind of where he's been benefiting tonight, in clean air, but things have changed now with that front end damage. Mark Truxell runs in the 6th position, and Corey Bigley will restart 8th. Pace car comes to pit lane. Could this be our final restart of the season here in the PSRA Open ARCA Series? There it is. Green flag waves, and we're racing to finish it here at Michigan. Good timed reaction by David Bradford as he hangs on the right side of Will Hewitt as they roll into turns 1 and 2. Rogers, low side of the track, trying to take advantage as well. Now attacking. 3-wide battle for the 2nd spot as Bradford jumps out to the race lead. Colt Ansley swaps lanes to the bottom of the track. He'll take the position, or will he, from Bobby Jr. They run side by side. 3 wide behind them. Rogers on the bottom, Hewitt in the middle, Fahey up top. They make contact. Everybody scatters, but they continue down the road with their foot through the floorboard. Right now, Bobby Jr. with 9 to go, in position to win yet another championship. Truxell runs 6th, Rogers 7th, Bigley runs 9th. Loose off of turn 2, Truxell straightens it out. Corey Bigley now on the attack. He dives to the bottom. Bradford still leads now. Colt Ansley up into the 2nd spot. And Fahey pounds the outside wall off at turn 4. Truxell's around and into Bigley. They go through the grass. Bigley tries to get it straight, but around it goes. Do we stay green? So far, so good. We are still green, and now we have a change for the race lead as Colt Ansley to the bottom of the track, but he got a little too much of the apron. Chases it up the racetrack. It cost him some momentum. He'll tuck back in behind Bradford. With 8 laps to go, Rogers runs 4th. Hamilton Jr. 5th, Truxell 9th, and Bigley 10th. Their chances of a championship, those two at the end, likely gone away unless we get another opportunity at a restart. Front of the field, it's Bradford and Colt Ansley with 7 laps to go. It's anybody's race here at the front of the field. The top 3 separated by just a couple of feet each. Bradford, Ansley, and Hewitt, the top 3. Hewitt's been one of the dominant drivers here tonight. Bradford out in the lead, though. Didn't have the night he wanted to have, but he's been lightning quick in the pits. Has used that pace in pit lane to get him the track position with an opportunity here to be out in front, potentially pick up a race win. Battle for 2nd, hot and heavy with Hewitt on the inside of Colt Ansley. Hewitt had an opportunity. He could have slotted up in front of the 86, thought better of it. Leaves the lane open for the 86. Now we'll end up having to tuck back behind Ansley down the back straightaway. It's Bradford, Colt, and Will Hewitt, 1, 2, and 3 with less than 6 laps to go. A.J. Rogers still the lead championship driver, quite a ways up on Mark Truxell. Truxell, the 2nd machine in the championship 4, he runs 8th. Then it's Hamilton Jr. 9th and Bigley in 10th. More battle here at the front of the field. Bradford hanging on to that race lead, loving to see those two behind him fighting for position. Doesn't really allow him to get away. We've only seen Will Hewitt able to put distance on 2nd place here tonight. Bradford, though, still hanging on to it, coming to 4 laps to go. Hewitt runs second, Colt Ansley third. Ansley crosses over, takes a look to the inside, but no momentum to do it. Right to the back bumper goes the 33 on Bradford into turn 1, just trading paint as they roll down into the corner. Bradford gets away by 1/10.5 over second place Hewitt. Hewitt changing lanes. Colt Ansley changing lanes. Bradford changing lanes. Everybody's trying to break the draft here at Michigan. These 3 drivers, they want to win this race. No championship on the line for this top 3, but Rogers hanging tough in the 4th position. He's got Runge closing in, but that's not a position he really cares about. He just needs to stay ahead of the other 3. The nerves got to be coming to play here for A.J. Rogers. His fingers got to be going numb. His arms tingling, worrying about what can happen. Will we run green all the way to the end? Do I battle the 19? Do I not? Meanwhile, still out front, it's Bradford, Hewitt, and Ansley, and nothing has changed. These drivers are giving everything they have to win this final race. Slide job for the 86, up the wall, crossover from Hewitt, closes the door is Colt. Colt goes to the bottom now, Hewitt back to the top. Colt's going to have the advantage of pulling the draft off of Bradford as they head down into turn 1. They're side by side for second again with 2 laps to go. Rogers now into the 6th position. The next driver behind him is Mark Truxell, but he's about 6 or 7 car lengths behind. Rogers just needs to stay clean and run consistent laps for the next lap and a quarter to lock up a title. Out in front, the battle calming down a bit between the race leaders. Bradford still with the lead, coming to start finish. Barney will have the white flag in hand, and there it is, 1 lap to go. Will Hewitt make a last lap move? And there he goes to the inside in turn 1. Side by side for the race lead and maybe the win here at Michigan. Up the racetrack, Bradford has Ansley behind him. No help for the 33. Will it matter? Contact? No. Crosses over. Ansley just barely avoiding contact with Will Hewitt. Hewitt back to 3rd. Ansley making a move for the race lead into turn 3. Through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Colt Ansley with the race lead and a last lap pass coming down to start finish, and the 86 will win it. Bradford finishes second. Will Hewitt will settle for 3rd, and A.J. Rogers will gladly take the 5th position along with the PSRA Open ARCA Series title. Bravo, boys and girls. Bravo. What a race. We had 3 different leaders on that last lap. Bradford led it at the stripe. Hewitt led it by a nose at one point in 1 and 2. And Colt Ansley led it for good off of turn 4 to take the win here at Michigan. Well earned, Colt Ansley, well earned, picking up the win here. Well, that's all she wrote. This one is in the books. We do not have interviews for tonight, as again, this was a tape-delayed broadcast. I don't know really what else to say. That was easily the best race of the season. I know these guys put on a good show at Auto Club Speedway earlier in the season. We kind of expected this one to be exciting, and it certainly was. It did not disappoint. These guys went after it all night long. It just a job well done by everybody. Championship 4 drivers really going after it, lap after lap, really from the drop of the green flag. Super impressive race here tonight. A wonderful season. So glad to be calling it here. There's going to be more coming up here in Season 3 in 2026, so don't go far. I think we're still running here on Sunday nights, the PSRA Open ARCA Series. I don't know if we're doing anything with fixed, but I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see what happens with that. But for now, Open ARCA Series racing here at Track Limits Network. Let's take a look here at our race results. Cole Ansley, of course, picking up the race win here to close things out. Race 17 goes to the 86. David Bradford will come home in the second spot. Will Hewitt third. Again, the two dominant drivers here tonight, Bobby Jr., Will Hewitt, not able to come home with a victory. Hewitt settles for third. Derek Runge was fourth. A.J. Rogers takes the 57 Stinger Motorsports machine to the 5th place finish and a championship. One of the rare occurrences where a driver without a win wins the title, but he got it done. That's the hardware he's looking for this season, and that's the one he's taking home. Mike Fahey, another solid run. He'll finish P6. Mark Truxell, second in the points based on his 7th place finish. Mark's got to wonder what could have been, but man, really impressed with the drive out of the 5 here tonight. He actually qualified and qualified well. Started in, I think it was the 4th position here tonight. So Truxell went out there and got it done and really put the hammer down every single lap. Did not do typical Mark Truxell things and ride around in the back for a while until it was time to go. He went go from the drop of the green flag. So job well done for Mark Truxell. Frank Griffith finishes in the 8th spot. Bobby Hamilton Jr. has to settle for 9th after getting caught up in Derek Runge's incident. Corey Bigley will finish 10th in the last championship position. Terry Wilson, a 11th place finish. Josh Ingram was 12th. Jason Steptoe finished in 13th. Keenan Kimber was 14th. Alan DeFries came home in the 15th spot. Chris Klein 16th. And Matt Nicholson, a tough night. First lap crash ended his evening extremely early. He'll be credited with the 17th place position. With all that said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in each and every week, at least the nights that we were able to do this on Sundays. I know we had some travel conflicts with the day job. Really appreciate David Bradford, Bobby Jr., and all the guys that make this thing run here in the background for working with us here at Track Limits so that we can do these broadcasts on a tape delay when necessary. There might have been a couple that we didn't end up doing for one reason or the next, but really excited for this one. This was great to watch, a fun one to call, and they really delivered here tonight. These guys are no joke. They proved it here tonight. Everybody out there is a champion in my book, but A.J. Rogers gets to take home the hardware. Wow. That's all I got to say. We got Icy in the chat. Thanks, Steve. We appreciate you, bud. Thanks for checking in, guys. It was a fun one. That's all I can really say. I've said it a million times already, but very impressed. Tune in for more in 2026, guys. We're coming back. We're not done. It's only going to get better. It's going to do it for us here at Track Limits. Congratulations, Cole Ansley, picking up the win here at Michigan Speedway in thrilling fashions. And a big congratulations to A.J. Rogers for picking up the championship here in the PSRA Open ARCA Series. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you at the next one.